A very warm welcome, our dear viewer. It's a pleasure having you in this lesson. Today we are going to begin from page 57 of our workbook, Primary 6 class. Remember, in the previous discussions that we had, we were looking at the reaction of the people in Africa towards colonial rule, whereby we looked at people reacting in two ways. We had those who collaborated, that is, who worked together with the colonialists. We call them the colonial agents or colonial collaborators or supporters. Then we had those who resisted, who refused to work with the colonialists. We call them the colonial resistors. Today we are going to be looking at how the different East African countries started struggling for their independence. This is like a revision, because in primary 5 we talked about the struggle for independence in Uganda, whereby we're looking at how Ugandans struggled for their independence, whereby we talked about things like Ugandans forming political parties, that is by the early 1950s. We talked about Ugandans also becoming or coming together. We talked about Ugandans showing that they were annoyed of the British rule, thereby beginning things like boycotting, rioting, holding demonstrations, strikes. All those were the reactions to show that they wanted to be free from these colonial masters. Which means that when we come to look at colonial, how or the struggle for independence in East Africa, Uganda being an East African country, it means that we are going to be talking about the same things. That's why when we have to that page, when we come to that page 57, we have the struggle for independence in East Africa. And we are saying that here we have some countries that demanded for independence peacefully, whereas others went through violence. We were looking at the Mau Mau rebellion that was staged in Kenya. We talked about the Maji Maji rebellion that was staged in Tanganyika. We talked about the Hehe rebellion and other rebellions. You'll find that some of these, or most of these rebellions, were staged with that aim of those countries becoming free, that is, getting liberated. For example, when we talked about the Mau Mau, we say that is Mzungu arudi Ulaya Mwafrika apate uhuru. We say they wanted the British to go back to their, to their homeland, that is to Europe, such that they could become free, meaning they could get their freedom, that is independence already. So you will find that that was another way, that was a violent way through which these people were demanding for this or for their independence. Africans formed also political parties in their respective countries, whereby we talked about the Kenya African Union, that is CAU, that we say that was formed by James Gichuru, that later on changed and became the Kenya African National Union, that is KANU, and we say it is what led Kenya to independence. We talked about Tanganyika African Association also, which later on became the Tanganyika African National Union, that is TANU, which we said it led Kenya to independence. In primary 5, we talked about the Uganda People's Congress led by Obote, which led Uganda to independence. So we also need to note that such a way or such a method was used, that is forming political parties. And when we talk about political parties, this is what we are going to be looking at: forming political parties. In other words, we shall have our heading as formation of political parties. Formation of political parties in East Africa. If such a heading is on the board, like the way we have it, Then as semi-candidates, that is as children in primary 6 preparing now ourselves to enter candidate class, we need to note that we are supposed to begin by defining what we call a political party. A political party. So what do we mean by a political party? A political party, we can term it as a registered association of members, a registered association of members having what we call a party emblem, with a party emblem ready to compete. Ready to compete for what we call political power. Not just power, we need to be specific because we have other powers. Someone can have spiritual powers. We are not talking about those ones here. We are looking at political power. So this is a very simple definition. You will find sometimes we children fear writing sentences which are long, but we need to get to know that it's very important for us to understand such. So political party, like we have written it on the board, simply means a registered association of members with a party emblem ready to compete for political power, which means people come together to form that association. They will register with electoral commission and they go to compete for power. We are going to have a difference here. We are going to have the reason for the formation of political parties, that is during colonial rule. Reasons for the formation of those political parties. Here we are looking at during colonial rule, which means at the time the colonialists were ruling these people in East Africa. What were the reasons for the formation of these political parties? So that is our subheading that we are having, reasons for the formation of political parties. The first and the strongest reason we are going to have was to demand for independence. To demand for independence. That is the first reason that we need to write. Political parties were founded or were formed in East Africa in order to demand for independence. Like I said, in primary 5 we are looking at the formation of political parties in Uganda, whereby we say that during the early 1950s, Ugandans started forming political parties, and by 1952, we had the first political party formed in Uganda, that is UNC, Uganda National Congress, formed by Ignatius Kangabe Musaza, if you still remember that lesson. Which means that the main reason for the formation of these political parties was to demand for independence. Then number 2, these political parties were also aimed at uniting people, which means we shall have our next reason, that is to follow this, which says to unite people. To unite people, we are looking at bringing people together, thereby promoting what we call unity, national unity, people coming together to support one another, and of course when people are together, then they can achieve. Next is to improve on the standards of living of the people in East Africa. To improve on the standards of living to improve on the standards of living. When we talk about improving on the standards of living, we are looking at improving on the welfare of people. That is, getting people out of poverty. That is what we simply mean here. And then finally, these political parties were also formed in order to promote human rights, such that human rights were to be observed and respected. To promote human rights. Human rights, we define them as the fundamental freedoms that a human being is supposed to enjoy. So those are the reasons. However, during the formation of these political parties, we shall be able to realize that these members, actually the leaders, the ones who were spearheading, remember, a political party always has what we call the party chairman or the party chairperson in general. Of course, can be a woman, can be a man. So we can call it, we can call this person a party chairperson. So you will find that such leaders who were now the ones spearheading those political leaders, those political parties, had challenges, and even the rest of the members. So we are going to be looking at problems which were faced by people who formed political parties. On page 57, we are having people, we have problems facing political parties. Problem number one that we have says there was ignorance among the people, which means some people did not know their human rights, their rights, and therefore they were now deprived of their rights. Number two, we had the problem of shortage of funds. This is a very serious answer, which is always very common. Shortage of funds. Remember, political party needs funding. For it to run its activities, it needs the money. Ignorance of people. Then sometimes you could find that some political parties were banned. So we can call this the banning or abolition of political parties. You could find that the colonialists could sometimes oppose and they could abolish or ban these political parties. That's what we call interference from security agencies. And then we have corruption and tribalism. So that is, those are the problems that political parties faced, and some of these very problems are being faced by the current political parties. We shall be able to realize that even today, we still have political parties being formed. Political parties are still being formed. But now, when it comes to the reasons, there are those that are now different. For example, we say, one of the reasons, probably the major reason for the formation of political parties during colonial rule. When we talk about colonial rule, we are meaning when the whites were ruling the East African countries. Political parties were formed mainly to demand for the independence of those countries. But if a question is asking you that give a reason as to why political parties are being formed in East Africa, in Uganda, in Kenya, or in any other country today, there now we can't again talk about to demand for independence, because those countries already gained their independence. I hope we are getting each other here well. So here we don't again say to demand for independence. Which other independence? We are already independent countries. Therefore, which other reasons are there? To struggle for political power, to gain political power. That is to rule others. You will find when we look at Uganda, we say that we looked at the presidential elections which were concluded recently. You could find there were very many political parties which took part. And the reason was that these political parties were struggling to win the presidential position. Of course, that is gaining power. So that should be the main reason that we have for the formation of political parties today, or nowadays. That's what we call today. Then these other ones will remain to unite the people. That is okay, that one can remain. To improve on the standards of people. To promote human rights. That one is okay. Those other ones can remain. But demanding for independence cannot come. Solutions to the problems facing political parties, we have by carrying out what we call mass education. That is what we call sensitization of people. Educating people about their rights, about or on what they are supposed to know, such that we avoid them being ignorant. That is to fight against ignorance. Number 2 is getting funds, like political parties can get some funding or they can get some loans from other institutions such that they are able to keep the party active. And then we have enforcing laws against corruption and then formulating electoral laws. Those are the solutions that we have. On page 58, we are going to go through the political parties which were formed in different countries, and we begin with Tanganyika. In the previous lessons, we said Tanganyika is that East African country which got independence faster than any other, and we understood the reasons. We said they had collaborated with McDonald. They had collaborated with. It was made a trusteeship, and then we also talked about the unity, which was among the people of Tanganyika, and then also the collaboration with Turnbull was the last governor in that country. So we have Tanganyika African Association, that is TAA. We are saying it was formed in 1929 by a group of young educated Africans. We have Amuko Julius and then Bumani. We have Tanganyika African Association, later on changing to Tanganyika African National Union, that we said, and it was now led by Julius Nyerere, and we said it now led Tanganyika to her independence, that is in 1961, as we talked about previously. We have the United Tanganyika Party, UTP, formed by a minority of Asians and Europeans in 1956, and it was formed to reduce the influence of TANU, of which still they could not succeed. Then lastly, we have the African National Congress, ANC, which was formed by Zuberi Ntembu. And then we have the 1960 elections that we have. TANU won very many seats, 70 seats out of 71, and we had Mwalimu Kambarage Julius Nyerere becoming the first Prime Minister of the internal self-government or governance of Tanganyika. And then on 9th December 1961, we said Tanganyika was granted her independence. After that, we shall be having a topical test that we have on page 59. This topical test, we are supposed to answer it, and the questions run up to page 50. We have these questions. Then after you answer those questions, we shall go we shall have another. There is some page number which needs to be corrected. It's reading 59 again, which is fine. We are not after the page numbering, but we have the questions there. Then its continuation is on that page 59. Here gives us the reasons why Tanganyika got independence, which we had already talked about. Reasons why Tanganyika got independence, we are saying it was a trusteeship territory, Remember we said that trusteeship was a former colony of Germany handed over the League of Nations, to the United Nations Organization after World War II. And we have Julius Nyerere, who formed the TANU, and we say that this had good terms with the last British governor, that is Turnbull, Richard, and it made now them to be given independence. We have the presidents who have ever ruled Tanganyika. We have on that page 59 Mwalimu Julius Nyerere being the first. We have Hassan Mwinyi, Benjamin Mkapa, Jakaya Kikwete, and then we have John Pombe Magufuli. And there is some correction we are going to make there. That one is put in bracket as the last. In bracket they say it's the current president. That was by the time the book was made, but as we talk right now, we have now Samia Hassan Suluhu, sorry. That is now the current we have. Samia Hassan Suluhu. So that is the current that we are going to add there to that John Pombe Magufuli, and that one now becomes the last as we talk. Then, of course, we need to know that these are things which keep on changing. We can be talking about that right now, but next time again, we'll find things change. We are in the year 2021. That is when we have that. Next, page 60 gives us the political parties and the trade unions formed in Kenya. Kikuyu Central Association, KCA, by Sir Harry Thuku. We have the Young Kavirondo Association, East African Association. We have the Kenya African Union. We have Kenya African Development Union, KADU. And then we have the Kenya African National Union, that we say it was formed by James Gichuru, and later on it led Kenya to independence under Jomo Kenyatta, becoming the leader. Then we have the Kenya Local Government Workers Union by Tom Mboya. We shall be looking at the 1961 elections in Kenya, whereby we have elections were held between KADU and KANU, and on 1st June 1963, KANU won the elections, but the owner did not get or form a government. KADU accepted to form the government, and we have Ronald Ngala becoming the first chief minister of Kenya. In 1962, we had KANU that had won the elections, and Jomo Kenyatta became the president. Kenya now got independence, that is on 12th December 1963, with Jomo Kenyatta, of course, becoming the first African president. There we have. The presidents of Kenya, we have Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, that we have said he was the first. We have Daniel Arap Moi, Mwai Kibaki, then we have Uhuru Kenyatta, as we have him today. Next is we have also the current political parties in Kenya. Current, we are saying these are the ones which are in existence as we are talking right now. And we say that those current ones today are not again for independence, but for them they are for political power. Orange Democratic Movement, ODM. We have Jubilee Alliance, National Rainbow Coalition, Forum Party, Party of National Unity, United Democratic Movement, and then we have the National Alliance of Kenya, Sisi kwa Sisi, Kenya African National Union. Coming to page 61, we are looking at the political parties in Uganda, whereby we say that in Uganda, political parties were formed. The first one was formed in 1952. That is by Ignatius Kangavu Muzazi. That is the one we always call I.K. Musazi. I believe we understood that in primary 5. And that was the UNC. That stands for Uganda National Congress. Uganda National Congress. Democratic Party also came in. We have Uganda People's Union by Wilberforce Nadiope. We have the United Congress Party, UCP. We have Uganda National Movement by Augustine Kamya. Uganda People's Congress, which was founded by Obote, that is 1960. We have the Uganda National Party, Kabaka Yeka, that's the one we call the KY Party. Remember when we in primary 5 we understood that the UPC made an alliance with Kabaka Yeka to win the 1962 general elections. Thank you. Then we have the Progressive Party. We have elections of 1961, whereby we said UPC, Democratic Party, and UNC participated in the elections, and the results were that DP won. What made the Democratic Party to win? We say that the Democratic Party had more representatives on the council, and on 1st March 1961, Uganda got internal self-government. Then we have Benedicto Chiwanuka becoming the first prime minister. That is the first prime minister of Uganda. But remember, not the executive. In 1962, another election was held with UPC, DP, and Kabaka Yeka, among other parties, and we say that this is the one whereby the Uganda People's Congress made an alliance with the Kabaka Yeka that is working together in order to defeat the Democratic Party. And Dr. Apollo Milton Obote won that election. And he became the first executive prime minister of Uganda. Executive meaning with power, while ceremonial without executive power. Presidents who have ever ruled Uganda, we have Sir Kabaka Edward Frederick Mutesa II, followed by Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, who was then overthrown through a military coup by Idi Amin Dada, who was later on replaced by Yusuf Chirondelule. We have Godfrey Lukongwa Binaiza, Paulo Mwanga, then we have General Tito Okello. Before Tito Okello, we were to have again Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, that is after Paulo Mwanga, that is the one who is called Obote 2. But now we can't again rewrite it here, though there is that gap. Obote 2, Obote came again there first of all, then later on was overthrown by Tito Okello Lutwa, who was also overthrown by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who sat in power up now as we talk. I say this is 2021 for memory. The current political parties we have in Uganda today, we have Democratic Party, still there. National Resistance Movement, that is the ruling party. We need to understand that. They will be asked, which is the ruling party? That is the National Resistance Movement. We write it in short as NRM. Forum for Democratic Change, that is FDC. Justice Forum, JEMA. People's Progressive Party, that is PPP. We have People's Development Party, PDP. And then we have Uganda People's Congress, UPC, of course. We have Conservative Party, CP. Alliance for National Transformation, that is NNT. Then we have National Unity Platform. Probably this is the newest party we have in Uganda as we talk now, 2021. Remember, we say that all these political parties were founded or were set up mainly to compete for political power today, leave alone during colonial rule. Formation of political parties in Rwanda, we have on page 63, whereby we have Rwanda National Union, Party for Hutu Emancipation. We have Rwanda National Union Party, Association of Welfare of the Masses, that is APROSOMA in Rwanda. We still have also elections, that is, we have the 1961 elections, whereby we have the Party of Hutu Emancipation, Pamehutu, which won the elections, and Gregory Kayibanda became the first Prime Minister of Rwanda. Then we have 1st July 1962, Kayibanda led Rwanda to independence and became the first president. Current political parties, we have the Rwanda Patriotic Front, KPF. We have the Rwandese Socialist Party, RSP, and then finally the Liberal Party, LP. Formation of political parties in Burundi, we have UPRONA, that is Union for National Progress, by Louis Rwagasore in 1959. Then we have the Christian Democratic Party, PD. This is supposed to be CDP. That was in 1959. So that is about Burundi. Currently, we have the National Council for the Defense and Democracy, and then we have People's Party, Union for National Congress, that is UNC. So that is on that page. Then when we go to page 64, we are given the challenges that the East African countries are facing. Here we are looking at challenges facing countries like Uganda, then we shall talk about Rwanda, Burundi, all those East African countries, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. Which problems are these countries facing? Number one, we have the low levels of democracy. You'll find that democracy is always not all that well developed due to the violation of some human rights. We have high levels of illiteracy, that is the inability of one to read and write. You'll find that most people do not attain better education, thereby they remain illiterate. Next, we have what we call low life expectancy, whereby we are looking at the period. Life expectancy means the time when a person is supposed to live on earth before dying. You will find that sometimes it becomes low in a way that people die at a young or at an early age. You will find there are a lot of factors that bring that we may not be able to exhaust all of them. One among others include the lifestyles of people, the way people live. You find sometimes some people live a reckless life that will make them harm themselves or the internal organs, whatever, and people do not last long. Then we have also the natural environment where people live. You find sometimes there is a lot of toxic gases which affect people's health, and at the end of it all, people end up getting complications with their bodies and they die. Then issues of poor feeding, that is nutrition, or can also bring that, whereby people do not have a proper diet to eat, and at the end of it all, people do not last long. So all among others, like I said, there are very many, we cannot be able to finish all that. The point is low life expectancy. Then we have high levels of corruption is another problem. We have violation of human rights, rapid population growth, meaning the number of people in the country or in these countries goes very high. People become too many. And of course, we need to realize that when the number of people goes very high, it brings a shortage in resources. And you will find that people will not be able to get what will be enough for everyone. We have other problems like over-dependency, that is on foreign aid. You will find that most of the East African countries from the foreign countries. You'll find a certain country donating, maybe China donating some funds to Uganda, to Kenya, to any other country. That is what we call depending on foreign aid for help, or on foreign countries for help rather. So it becomes a problem that we are unable to sustain our own selves. Then we have poor social service delivery, whereby this is done by the governments. We find the governments of these countries are not able to provide quality and better social services to their citizens. And this can also be another cause of low life expectancy. People do not get enough or better health service. For example, one can be sick, goes to the health facility to get medication, but you will find you reach there are no drugs for you to become okay. At the end of it all, someone dies. So it will have also contributed to the other side of low life expectancy. Poverty levels are too high, whereby people are very poor. Hunger is always there. People don't have what to eat. And then we have low levels of industrialization. Industrialization, we are looking at industries being set up in an area. You'll find that that one is at a very low level, a very low rate, meaning people may not be able to get enough jobs. Remember, when these industries are set up, people can go work in them and they get money or they get jobs from there. That will make them sustain lives. Then we have a lack of cooperation among these East African countries, much as there was the formation of the East African Community, EAC, that I believe we learned about in term 1. You will still find that there are some political differences. There are some areas whereby these heads of state do not match. You'll find there are some political differences, and this becomes a challenge to the East African Community as a regional body. When we look at the solutions, of course we say that the solution is got from the problem, which means we are going to look at how the above problems can be addressed. We have talked about low levels of democracy. What should be done? That is to improve on democracy in these countries by educating the citizens on their rights. That's what we call providing them with civic education. That is sensitizing them on their rights such that they get to know what they are or what they are supposed to do and what they are to possess or their rights or privileges. Promoting democracy by rule of law, diversifying the economy. This is to overcome the challenges of poverty. Then setting up industries. This is to overcome the problem of low levels of industrialization. And of course, we say it can help people to get jobs, thereby being able to sustain or to push with life. Of course, when someone is working, a person is able to get the money that he or she will use to buy what he or she wants. Improving on social services provided to the people, that can be by the government, and also, remember, social services can also be provided by the non-governmental organizations. Those are the ones we call NGOs. This is not a political party. This is the short form of non-governmental organizations. We mean the organizations that provide also assistance or social services to people, though we shall find that for them, people can either pay for them because it's a private arrangement, or they can provide to people for free. We have those that are profit-oriented, and then we have those which are non-profit oriented. Then we have promoting the use of family planning methods, and educating people on the dangers of having too many children, and as this will help to reduce or to fight the problem of high population. You will find in most cases this following the family planning methods will enable people to have a manageable number of children, and this will help not to have the population going too high. And we have introducing free and compulsory education. That's why you will find that the government of Uganda implemented the program of the universal primary education to help children whose parents cannot afford paying school fees in private schools, also to learn in those government schools that we call public schools. That is universal primary education. And after this, still the government has got what we call universal secondary education, whereby these children can also continue studying even up to secondary for free. That is the point that we are understanding here. Introducing free and compulsory education in that every child must go and learn. Encouraging girl-child education. This is to avoid the issues of child marriages or early marriages, which would result into complications. And then encouraging adult literacy programs. That is what we call andragogy. Adults, in case an adult did not go to school, you will find that person can also go to school. There are schools which are set up for adult education. You'll find if daddy did not go to school, daddy can also go and he joins the fellow men, fellow parents. Then they learn also from school. If mommy did not go, the same. Even if it's Jaja, can also go to school and they learn. That's what we call adult education. I know some of us are hearing this for the first time, but it's there. Then we have promoting human rights, organizing regular elections, that is to promote democracy, and then applying modern technology. This is to improve on the technology levels in the countries, and then fighting corruption and misuse of public property or funds. This can be by arresting those officials who are found corrupt or sacking them, that is dismissing them from their offices. This will help to reduce or to overcome the problem of corruption, and people will be able to get what they are meant to get. Remember, this corruption makes people not to receive what they were meant to, because the person who was to deliver the services to them diverts the services for his or her personal gains. We are looking at the achievements now on page 65. We have the achievements of the East African countries, which means we are going to look at what are the successes of these East African countries? What have they succeeded in? What have they gained? One, we have reviving and expanding the economic cooperation. We have agricultural diversification, that is diversifying the economy through agriculture, of which this can be done through what we call mechanized agriculture, that is modern farming, modern agriculture, use of farm tools, modern tools like machines to do agricultural work other than using small horse. That will help to improve on and it will help the country to be able to get enough produce. There has been construction and improvement of infrastructure. For example, roads have been constructed such that there is easy transportation. And when we talk about transportation, we mean movement of both goods and humans from one place to another. Goods are now moved, or goods can be moved from one area or from where they are produced up their market areas for sale. All that is facilitated or is aided due to the improved facilities like the roads. Improving on communication, having peace and reconciliation in the countries, and then we have having constitutional rule, that is following the constitution when ruling people, not violating the constitution, and then having proper elections of leaders to have, this will encourage what we call a peaceful change in government, and then improving on the freedom of people, providing free education and literacy has been there also, providing equal opportunities to both gender, that is what we call gender equality, observing both male and female, not despising the other and favoring others. No, there has been that gender. That's why we have been in Uganda, we have that Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, which means we are looking at the ministry which promotes equalness or equity among the people, not others saying for us we are of more value than others. We have what we call equal rights, gender equity. Then we have lastly providing, having progress against diseases, that is looking for ways of overcoming some of the diseases. You'll find that right now we are in the pandemic of the coronavirus, and you'll find there are ways which are taken forward to come, to make it come to an end. So all those are the ways that these East African countries have tried to progress. They have tried to improve and to push on life. When we meet in the next discussion, we shall be looking at our page 68, whereby we shall be looking at the democratic rule in East Africa. That is when we shall be looking at our democracy. For now, we end our lesson there, and I thank you for being part of it. Goodbye.